Welcome, one and all, to a special episode of 10 Years Later. We hope you had a wonderful holiday season filled with food, friends, family, and countless hours burning your retinas in front of a TV playing your favorite games. Today, we're going to be taking a look back at the year of 2015 and give flowers to the games that shined the greatest 10 years ago. Also, we're going to take a look at my favorite games of this year, 2025. First, we're going to honor the top 3 games of 2015 that we weren't able to cover. These will be the honorable mentions, and I'll be ranking them on how interesting of a video each game could have been. It's something I want to include given we didn't have the time to cover everything, but there was so much in this year that's relevant to look back on. Next, we're going to rank the top 3 games we did cover from 2015. This'll be the hardest one for me. It's like picking a favorite child. But this will also give me an opportunity to give extra praises to the games I loved. After that is more of a selfish category. I'm going to rank the top 3 games I played in 2025 that did not come out this year. This category is more of a game recommendation ranking, ones that I have thoughts on that I need to get out now instead of 10 years ahead of whenever they initially came out. I'm always trying to dig at my backlog, and this year I found some gems, so we're going to talk about them. Finally, I'm going to go over my favorite games of 2025. Now, given the time we put into this channel, our backlog, and our full-time jobs, this list won't be exhaustive and it's not going to take into account every game that came out this year. Just assume that if I left out a game, I didn't play it. And as you know, there were some bangers that came out this year that we need to talk about. First up is the honorable mentions. Number 3 in our first category, honorable mentions, is Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. This game might be an interesting one to start out with, but it's one that brought a unique gameplay style to the 5v5 competitive shooter genre. And to this day, 10 years later, no other game does the small-scale, round-altering destruction this game does. Given it's a multiplayer game that required many changes over the years to stay relevant, both technically and in its gameplay meta, it's had a pretty rocky history that could easily be its own video. I played this a ton in college with my buddies. I remember late nights in college playing countless rounds of ranked, getting hyped at crazy plays or screaming at my teammates in-game during fumbles. I kept up with the new seasons and operators, grinding challenges for new unlocks, and taking part in the seasonal events. I kind of fell off in 2021, but the nearly 600 hours I spent with this game were well worth it. Number 2 goes to Batman Arkham Knight. Now, the reputation behind this series precedes it tenfold. The Arkham series is one with excellently reviewed titles such as Asylum and City, but one in the gaming space couldn't ignore the launch of this one. Critics praised its gameplay and story, but absolutely lambasted it given the inexcusable technical performance. It was crazy to read the headlines when it launched, with Rocksteady falling from grace in a way that almost feels like an omen of things to come. Going into the history of this title would be so fun, given most people tend to remember the glitches and frame rates rather than the gameplay, but giving it a shot myself is something I've wanted to do for a while. Surprising maybe some, I've never played an Arkham game. I've played third-person melee-focused action games that fans typically find parallels with, such as Sleeping Dogs and the newer Spider-Man games, so I'm sure it would be familiar to me. Number 1 goes to Undertale. This game is great. It seemed to come out of nowhere in the middle of a year of giant AAA open-world games, and quickly made a name for itself as a generational indie game. This game's inspiration comes from older RPGs like Earthbound, but has a unique gameplay hook where you don't actually have to kill anyone you fight. This goes into the game's story, which I don't want to spoil. It's just so good. Now, this game influenced an entire subsection of gamers, inspiring thousands with song covers, cosplays, entire new games, and more. And its popularity seemed to not slow down at all. Would you believe me if I told you that popular game theorist MatPat gave a copy of Undertale to Pope Francis? Crazy, right? Now, would you believe me if I told you that Megalovania from the game's soundtrack would be played to leg acrobatics for Pope Francis sitting in front of the massive sculpture of resurrection of Jesus Christ? Good, because that didn't happen. Well, it did, but... At number 3 is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. This game was truly revolutionary in the stealth action genre, and while the story may not have been equally as revolutionary, it's still super easy to come back to. I picked this game because I had so much history with it. Leading up to launch with playing through the older games to familiarize myself with the world, deciphering the conspiracy theories with the game, and finally playing it were such memorable experiences. This video was certainly also our most ambitious. I got a bit of flack for opening with that montage, but it's something I really wanted to do. MGS is all about the vibe, man. And starting with the 8-bit jingle, I feel like wouldn't have onboarded viewers as well as the montage, and I had fun editing it too. This video also got hit with the algorithm for some reason. We're really appreciative of the influx of viewers and subscribers, and I'm trying not to let that go to my head. I know the YouTube algorithm works in mysterious ways, and we're not trying to game it. We're just here to have a good time. Anyways, number 2 goes to Bloodborne. Obviously, I had to include it here. This game's world building through environmental storytelling is truly top tier, and it presents a haunting world that sticks with you. It's a more difficult game, sure, but people who have the patience and the mettle to fight through it are rewarded with a truly amazing experience that few games since then have offered. While the gameplay is similar to other Souls games, this one I feel does a better job in its way of evoking discovery, be it through finding unexpected connected pathways to new or previous areas, happening upon a disgusting, horrifying boss, or even finding a super fun playstyle with one of the game's unique trick weapons. As you know, this was our first video. The process for creating these videos really hasn't changed all that much, but most of the credit for this one has to go to my lovely wife, who edited the video in its entirety. She did an amazing job finding the right footage for each script beat, and even found some pretty good memes to go with it. This game also inspired me to go back and finally face Orphan of Kos, which I finally beat after all these years. Here's a picture of my buddy watching me crash out in joy after finally beating him. And at number 1 is, of course, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. What else needs to be said about this game? A truly epic open-world fantasy adventure with amazing combat, an emotional, smartly written story, characters you'll remember forever, and the music that easily sits at the top of the video game soundtrack pantheon. I think about this game often, ever since I first played it. And I'm almost scared for The Witcher 4 because CDPR has some pretty big shoes to fill. And they're their own shoes. I unfortunately was not able to progress too far into the story during the making of this video, really because of the 30-day turnaround I needed to hit. It was a blast revisiting this game, but after making it to Novigrad, I had to call it. This video was the end of the 3-month meat grinder of initial videos on this channel, and while I was proud of it, I was ready for a break. Thus, this allowed me to try out some other games I missed. And up first at number 3 is Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown. I've never played an Ace Combat game and had barely played a flight combat game to boot, but after listening to a gaming podcast where they described this as similar to Star Fox, I had to give it a shot. And that description is apt. You have arcadey flight combat, separated into quick levels with unique missions, and team members that bark campy, quippy dialogue every couple seconds. Initially, I was a little turned off with the bore-fest of a story, one-dimensional and unexplained characters, and motivations I could care less about. But as soon as I started splashing bandits, I was hooked. And initially, I was afraid this would be more of a sweaty flight sim, similar to, well, Microsoft Flight Sim. But like I said before, this game controls very easily. This game was a fun romp. I don't know when I'll ever get back to it, but it's an easy recommendation. Number 2 is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I don't know if this is cheating, since I technically started it last year, but the bulk of my playtime was this year, and it's also when I experienced all of the DLC. This game is truly wonderful. I really didn't know how to feel about it at first, because I didn't know how much I liked Night City as a world. I guess when I'm trying to escape into video games, I don't really want to live in a highly depressing techno hell where everyone's sad or angry. Even the loading screens kept telling me, you don't want to be here. It's weird, it never affected me before, but for some reason it affected me here. But I stuck with it, and what I got was a story that still sticks with me. Like The Witcher 3, CDPR is in their bag when they're writing a story and memorable characters. I honestly feel like the combat was okay, but I still suggest this game to anyone to experience at least once. Number 1 is Hi-Fi Rush. I'd had this title in my Steam library for a good year before finally installing it, and I am so glad I did. This game was ironically the same exact type of world in Cyberpunk, but the exact opposite vibe. This techno-future is bright, colorful, and full of charm, even if it also is controlled by megacorporations. The gameplay is reminiscent of old PS2 action games, and the characters look like they're ripped from them too. This game is unique in how your attacks and dodges connect to the beat of the music, and it makes for an incredibly satisfying combat loop. The levels are all unique and don't overstay their welcome, and there's secrets in every one that waits for your return in a second playthrough. The boss battles also have their own kind of gimmick, and each one of them feels like a blast to play. I want to stay in this game's world forever if I could, and I hope Tango gets the opportunity to make a sequel, but they've been getting the short end of the stick recently, so we'll see how that goes. And of the best, we have number 3, which is Peak. This charming co-op friend slop type game is truly unique. You and 3 other friends basically have to climb a mountain. and another mountain, and another mountain. Each level tests your teamwork and communication as you make your way to each peak. The items in this game's toy chest are a blast to use, such as grappling hooks, portable campfires, and a literal cannon you can use to shoot yourself across the map. So many great moments happen organically in Peak, such as making that last-minute grab to help your teammate climb up a hill before they run out of stamina, or hearing your teammate cry out in horror as they fall to their doom. Now, these types of games typically don't stay in the spotlight that long, but several months on, it's still getting new items and biomes, so I hope its popularity sticks a while longer. At number 2 is a type of game I've never played before, and one that's made me a believer in the genre, Dispatch. My wife and I played through the episodes as they released, and we've talked about it every day since. This is a Telltale-like game where you play as a washed-up superhero who joins the Superhero Dispatch Network, an organization that sends out superheroes, or in this case, ex-villains, to fight crime and solve problems. The primary focus of the game is making dialogue choices to affect the game's story, and in each episode is the actual dispatching you do, which is sandwiched between the story beats. When dispatching, you essentially send out the right man for each job, taking into account their different ability stats, which can be upgraded the more you play. We absolutely love the banter with the different crew members, which really is a product of the game's excellent writing. Each episode makes you care more and more for each member of the Z team, and by the end, well, I don't want to spoil it. I feel that everyone should get the chance to actually play the game. So do yourself a favor, don't spoil it for yourself. It is such a great experience to be in the driver's seat for this one. And at number 1, which may not be a surprise, is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game is amazing. I really don't know what I can say that multiple other outlets and reviews haven't said already. But what I will say is that this story affected me on a deep personal level. Each character is interesting in their own unique way, and the excellent voice acting only elevates it. You truly get to enjoy each character, and while there are so many moments in this game that make you feel hopeful, an equal number take your heart and twist it. You truly want the people in your team to succeed, and it feels like you're with them in their struggle. And you can tell I'm being vague. This is a story that I feel everyone should experience. And while some of the twists may be controversial, it worked on me, and I love this game for it. Now, I had never played a JRPG type game like this before, mainly because I'm afraid of the time it would take to beat them. But hearing that this is a more digestible one with an amazing story and great cast of characters, I had to pick it up. This game does respect your time. Beating the story takes about 30 hours. And with excellent turn-based combat, with flashy abilities, and speccing your characters to make them fit your playstyle, there's enough here to keep you wanting to get through it. I am so impressed by this game, and I hope Sandfall Interactive makes another, because they're absolutely killing it over here. And that's it! Our look back at both 2015 and 2025 is done. I hope you guys enjoyed this special episode as much as we enjoyed making it. There were so many generational games in both of these years, and it's so interesting to see where gaming has come in the last decade. I'm happy to say that we're not stopping here. There were some great games of 2016 that we want to share with you, and some great games that were hyped for release next year too. This last year has been so fun for us. We truly enjoyed making these videos for you all, and we're so humbled by the support on each one. For the millionth time, this is a passion project, and we aren't competing in a popularity contest. We want to make videos for us and for you, and we appreciate any number of people who decide to follow along in our journey to dig into the past. There were some video ideas that we had to scrap this year that we didn't have time for. One was reviewing movies that also turned 10, such as Mad Max Fury Road. But that was during the initial 3 video grind, so it unfortunately had to be skipped. Next year, I hope to try that out at least once. And maybe even start making videos that deviate from the strict 10 years from release drops. But the main show will always be 10 years later for games. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope you had a safe and wonderful holiday season. We'll see you in the next year to review the 10th birthday of some more amazing games. And in the next video, we'll be taking a look at something agricultural. And as always, do you feel old yet?